Hello guys and welcome to my new video. So today I'm going to be doing a continuation to tier 20 and just basically my thoughts about tier 20 in raid environment. I get this question probably the most on stream, on any Resto Druid forums, etc. Everyone's asking, I have tier 19, when do I switch over to tier 20? How is tier 20 in raid environment? Should I use tier 20 for this boss? All perfectly viable questions. I feel Resto Druid's got probably the most screwed options gearing wise. I mean, you can go with tier 19 meme spec for the whole of Tomb of Sargeras if you have a very high item level. So you can go tier 20 with tier 19 2 set, with then you have specific legendaries like Valence, Solo the Archdruid ring, or Predas, or even legendary shoulders with tier 20. There, when you use Germination, there's like so many gearing options right now that are available for Resto Druids that, like, I mean, anybody can get lost in what's available right now just because of how tier 20 is structured. So first of all, tier 20, 2-piece and 4-piece every time you use Swiftmend is going to increase your Efflorescence healing by 200% for 10 seconds. So it's a snipe heal. Your Efflorescence becomes for 10 seconds, it becomes a snipe heal. Now the problem is, in raid environment, it sounds really good. To be honest, it sounds alright. It sounds like you could actually use it on some fights and things like that. And it is true, you can use it on some fights. But the problem for fights like, say, Garroth, where people actually spread out, you can place your Efflorescence, you can use your Swiftmend, and you can actually get a decent amount of healing. There'll be some melee standing in it. You'll get at least 3 or 4 maybe. It only heals 3 at a time, but maybe you'll get some decent heal. But the problem is, everyone's probably like gonna move back or start soaking circles or whatever in Garroth. Now, the option is that you still have 10 to 15 seconds on your Efflorescence left. Do you just move your Efflorescence to the new locations and press Swiftmend? Now, you can do that, but the mana is going to be actually a huge problem. You can't do this without having... Technically, you can use tier 20 on every single boss in Tomb of Sargeras. But there are specific bosses like Garroth, Demonic Inquisition, most likely Fallen Avatar and Kil'jaeden, where tier 20 will just not work, or it will be very hard to do without placing Efflorescence all over the place. Because what happens in like Mistress Legion as well? What happens if you're doing Mistress Legion in the phase 3 when everyone's moving around? You need a lot of healing. People are gonna die. And you have Efflorescence that's like in the middle of nowhere for 15 seconds. You have 20% mana. There's about 30% HP on the boss. And you're like, do I just waste my Efflorescence, place it there, Swiftmend it, and then just hope I don't run out of mana? So there is a huge issue of optimizing mana with Efflorescence placement. Now, these are the bosses that in tier 20 that you should absolutely use. So this is the list of tier 20 bosses, or bosses that tier 20 is going to be very, very good for. Harjatan you can use tier 20 very easily. Sisters, I absolutely use Sisters with it. Actually, with Harjatan you can either go both, and as a talent that you can choose, you can go Germination or you can go Spring Blossoms for Harjatan. On Sisters of the Moon, you can absolutely go Spring Blossoms. I actually tend to go Spring Blossoms just because it's less mana intensive. So you want to think of Spring Blossoms as a talent way that you want to use if people are grouped up and if you feel your mana is going to be an issue. So any fights that last quite long. So for Sisters, I absolutely use tier 20 and I absolutely use Spring Blossoms. Mrs. Legion is not a tier 20 boss. Desert Host, if you're in the Spirit realm, so if you in the below realm, tier 20 is probably the best tier you can actually use. Desert Host is just so good for tier 20. You can use Spring Blossoms, so you can use Germination. You just place your Efflorescence. Most of the time people won't even move out of it at all. You'll probably get 90% uptime of everyone standing in your Efflorescence. It's amazing for Desert Host. For Maidens, you can go with tier 20. You can go with Germination. You can go with Spring Blossoms, or you can go with Inner Peace if you actually want to. So both of those 3 talents are actually perfectly acceptable on Maidens. Fallen Avatar tier 20 will be very hard to utilize. Kil'jaeden, you can use tier 20. I haven't really looked properly into Kil'jaeden's use for tier 20. I think you can get away with it. I feel that tier 19 4 set will probably be better for Kil'jaeden. But this is the list of the bosses with tier 20 is going to be really good, and you should actually use it. Now the other issue is that when do you switch from tier 19 to tier 20? Now the easiest way to actually really explain this is that every piece of your tier 19 and when you get tier 20, tier 20 should give at least 10 to 15 item level increase over your tier 19. So it's actually quite the only reason to switch over fully to tier 20 is when you really get a huge upgrades. It gives you so much secondary stats, it gives you so much intellect that you're just like, man, if I don't use tier 20, I'm gonna be like 30 item levels below, something like that. Like, this is like a clear option. Now, if you have a really high tier 19, it becomes much harder, and I advise you to use Leaf's RESTO DRUID weak aura and 30 spreadsheets to actually really fully find out when to switch over. But if there's a, like I said, 10 to 15 item level upgrade for each of the items that you're going to replace over tier 19 to tier 20 is around like a benchmark where you could be switching over. Now, my thoughts about tier 20 legendaries that you can use. A lot of people seem to be running first of all balance is by far the best legendary that you will use in raiding scenarios. So balance is never going to be replaced, or at least on some edge cases maybe they will, maybe it will. But a lot of people, and myself included, go with solo the Archdruid ring, which gives you solo the forest talent with tier 20, and I also go with prosperity. That seems to be the cookie builder talent choice right now. Prosperity, cultivation, then germination, or either spring blossoms. This is another question that you really get. If you have tier 20, it does not mean you have to go spring blossoms over germination. Tier 20 has no effect over which talent you're going to basically choose. Those spring blossoms and germination are still equally great if you use it with tier 20. It does not matter which talents you're going to use with tier 20. But it seems that with tier 20, the legendary choices, you will probably most likely will go with prosperity, germination or spring blossoms, flourish, and then you'll use solo the Archdruid ring to get solo the forest. So what that means basically, every time you're going to click that Swiftmend, you're gonna have to make sure that your Efflorescence is placed in the right location. You're gonna make sure that you want a wild growth in the next like 15 seconds, because that's how long the buff lasts, to make sure to actually get the most healing. Now this can be really hard on like progression fights where you're like, there's 20 different things happening right now. I need to manage my mana, and I also need to make sure my Efflorescence is down, and I need to make sure to Swiftmend someone who's low, and then I need to make sure that I need to wild growth. So you definitely, myself included, need to practice more with tier 20 to actually get the full optimization out of it. Most people will not like this change, but with practice and with the bosses that I mentioned, it'll be really good. And I don't want to make this video too long, but the last thing to actually mention that's actually quite important is that stat priority actually changes with tier 20, because tier 19 gives you a free rejuvenation. Rejuvenation stacks really well with mastery. Therefore, tier 19 stat priority included mastery as a really high value. With tier 20, it has no effect like this. Tier 20 doesn't really get affected by this. So tier 20 mastery, depending on the talents you choose, but most of the time mastery will fall down a bit. Mastery will fall down. The way I'm seeing personal changes, please spreadsheet it yourself, but my personal changes, if I use tier 20 and I use germination, my mastery plummets like quite a lot. Like it becomes quite bad, to be honest. If I use spring blossoms, it actually normalizes. So it depends on the talents choices you use, but the general consensus with tier 20, mastery falls down, and general consensus will be that your crit is going to be your best stat by a tiny amount. Your crit, tier 20 plays really well with crit. So keep in mind when you're actually choosing tier 20 that you gotta change your stat priorities a bit, because if you're coming from tier 19 into tier 20, not only you have to change the items, not only you have to get used to the playstyle, you also have to change your itemization a little bit. So I hopefully this was not too long. Let me know what you think about this video. Let me know what you think about your tier 20. Let me know if you're actually optimizing it to its full potential. And thank you for watching this little video, and I'll see you in my next guide.